Shalom, my name is Sarah from Ancient Biblical Oils and Ancient Biblical Healing. And I'm very, as Daniel says, super excited to be here today and to speak to you. And interestingly, this week's Torah portion is the captive woman, which when I woke up on Sunday, I just had this overwhelming feeling of saying, I'm free. And then when I opened up the Torah portion, it was the captive woman, and it was very interesting to read that story from a different perspective, having actually received salvation. So basically for myself, I'm sure you've all watched the Covenant Code. It's available on our teaching site and on YouTube for free. There's either 1 to 6 parts, if not more, as the story unfolds. And if you haven't watched it, I encourage you to really go and watch it. The reason being, it is our story in a nutshell, but it's also the story of the house of Israel. And myself and Daniel, for the past 12 or 13 years, when we actually discovered the Torah, after doing the Torah portion, one cycle, we were in no ways disillusioned by what the covenant was, who is involved in the covenant, what the terms and the conditions they govern, what the new covenant was. And we did a couple of rounds visiting other fellowship groups, and I quickly discovered that I didn't want to be there, simply because I was already arguing in my heart and in my soul about the covenant. I think for the most part, myself and Daniel had enough wisdom to not verbalize our misunderstandings, but for myself, rather to look at the scriptures and then work it out in my heart and say to Adonai, teach me, show me, I don't understand. And Torah portion after Torah portion, 12 years later, here we are. So I have to admit that it's been a struggle. Having grown up Christian and checked out every single religion, wanting to convert to Judaism, wanting to throw in the towel completely, but something inside of me knew that this was the truth. If ever there was somebody that could attest to predestination, it's me. I am not able to actually not be Israelite. I've been born to do this. I've been born to speak about this, and I've actually been called to birth the house of Israel. And that's what we've been doing, and that's what we are doing at the moment. We are putting out this message. The message is specifically for the house of Israel. It's specifically for people who fear and love Adonai more than themselves, and are willing to put down yourself and work out your salvation. So that is what I went through, and it was very interesting. Why today is very important was because on one of the Torah cycles, when I first discovered the truth, if that makes sense, I read this Torah portion. It must have been about 11 o'clock in the night. And I jumped out of bed immediately to Daniel and I said, I need freedom. And so I did the captive woman ritual, for lack of a better word, shaving your head, asking Daniel to shave my head, cut my nails, throw away every piece of clothing that was outside of my marriage or given to me by anyone else, and to be reclothed by Daniel and by Yahweh. So that was 12 years ago that I shaved my head and mourned my previous life and began my journey. And today I sit here on the Torah portion of the captive woman, and I can genuinely say that I'm free. The reason that I say that I'm free, and I'm not saying that I haven't had to work out my salvation, look at slavery, look at the possibility of Daniel having more than one wife, look at all these laws and all these traditions that are going to be the millennium rule, they are going to be part of the millennium code of conduct, for lack of a better way. The judicial system of the world is what we believe will be run on this. The police, the city councils, the schools, the educational systems, everything is going to come down to the terms and the conditions that were spoken on Mount Sinai and will be established by Ben David. So when I discovered that, to say, well, this is the millennium rule, I quickly understood in my soul and in my spirit, it's better to die now and potentially have the chance of living another 1,000 years and living. And I was also gifted with 5 months ago. For me, it started 3 years ago, where Adonai has gifted me with many experiences of experiencing what life in the kingdom would be, and also experiencing what being put away from the kingdom would be. Experiencing what it was to be in that war that took place, that rebellious war that took place in the heavens, and the mass destruction that took place, and then understanding that that same purging of unrighteousness has to happen on earth. And each time, with the various encounters of seeing these things, being given the opportunities to say, choose which side that you're going to be on. So for me personally, that has been my journey. I pray that, or let me rather say, if you are Israel and you have heard this, and in your mind and in your heart you know that it's true, but you find that your being is struggling with it, I really encourage you to just ask Adonai to open you up and to teach you and to show you, like he did for myself and Daniel. Okay, so I just want to backtrack a little bit. So we have known about the covenant code and the millennium law, and that the heavenly court is operating on these right rulings for 13 years, and we journeyed a couple of years in and out of groups, and on more than one occasion when the Torah portions would come up about Mishpatim or Shoftim or about the priesthood, and we would be almost like, when you know that something is true and you have this burning inside of you, and Daniel would speak up or I would speak up, we were quickly chucked out of groups, if that makes sense. There's no other way to put it. Politely asked to leave, sometimes unpolitely asked to leave, and all of that there. So we just decided, we're going to just pull away, and everybody has to walk their own journey. We're all on different paths and different parts of our journey. I understand all of that, but we decided to just pull away and get on with ourselves. And especially with me, I can't tolerate arguing and all that there. I couldn't tolerate the arguing about whether the instructions were relevant or not. I rather be part of conversations discussing if it's applicable right now because of then transgressing the law, or how can we keep it. So I didn't last very long in the groups, and I literally hid away for the past 13 years. And so when we arrived on this farm, which we were led here because of all the signs and symbols in the mountains that Adonai had shown us, it is absolutely phenomenal what we have seen on this farm. The markings in the mountain, aloe gardens that are just blossoming, shins, rocks with the letters on the rocks in the ground. All of that was because Adonai said, I kept on asking, why did you bring us here? Why did you bring us here? And he kept saying, I brought you here to reveal myself to us in a spectacular way. But anyway, so we got to this farm, and we were so thrilled because it's at the end of the valley. There's no through road. you actually feel like you've fallen off the face of the earth. And some people that have come here even like got afraid because they didn't know where they were going. And as you go further and further in the valley, you're like mounting this hill, which has got a hill drop off on the side. So they really felt they were going to fall off the edge of the earth. So of course, myself and Daniel were so happy about this. We were like, great, we've got here. We're going to lock the door, and no one's allowed here. And we thought we were going to just wait it out, work out our salvation, and live happily ever after under the sun. And it really seems that Adonai, we both knew from 7 years ago that our calling, predestination, is to speak to the house of Israel, to call them out, to show them the way, to show them the signs. But to be honest, we're a little bit disheartened every time we did try to speak up. And then somewhat fed up some of the times and thought we were going to just keep to ourselves. But like Daniel said, 5 months ago, we were gifted perspective. I fell sick. I just collapsed. When I woke up I was semi unconscious, or just when I woke up the next day for 2 days, I can say that I wasn't myself. I was present in a room, but my consciousness wasn't actually able to grasp what was happening around me with people and my children and just normal things. And then by the Sunday, I fell sick and I went into the most traumatic disillusionment. There was both light and dark mingled together, in the sense that Adonai would put me through immense testing in my spirit, in my heart, in my mind. And then my only salvation in that time, I could only say 3 things. I could only say the Shema, and with all the entities and people that I saw and beings that I saw that were coming to kill me on some nights, my children even had synchronized dreams of saying that there were these beings on the farm and they were trying to kill you, and I would have seen that as well. And all I could say every single time was, I love my master Daniel and his Elohim, and it would stop. Or I could say the Shema and it would stop. And it was just a synchronized pleading for Adonai. So why do I say that it was a gift? Because when I came out of that, nothing else makes sense. I'm no longer afraid. I'm no longer afraid of people to ridicule me or to shame me. We had already gone through so much as a family, and we had already gone through so much individually, that to see how close we were every single time, myself close to death, and to watch Daniel every single time so close to death, and experience the Ruach of Elohim, experience Yahweh save us, experience righteous Israelites come onto the farm and save us, experience the devouring lions coming to kill us, but then experiencing the Lion of Judah saving us, was, for me, it was just confirmation to say, hang in there and to choose the covenant. After all of that, when I woke up from that blessing, I realized that I love my Elohim Yahweh more than this world, more than my family, more than my friends, more than my children, and more than Daniel, and more than myself. I love my fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and all of their family, and all of them are welcome at my table. And myself and Daniel have been called to open up that space for the house of Israel. Whether it is physical, we don't know. We don't have the ability, we don't have the capacity. Everyone knows we don't have the wisdom. But if it even means to just, in front of the heavens and all the witnesses, to open up the space spiritually to say that we are here, so that Adonai can recognize us. And if we open up that space spiritually, what I believe that this is, the space will open up physically and Adonai will send Israel, or we will find each other. So I'm very excited because I knew from 7 years ago, no, I think it was more than 7 years, because Israel is going to be 8, anyway, somewhere around there. Just before he was born, one of my experiences with Ruach Elohim was, will you birth Israel? And he said, unto death. And I said, yes. And many of my dreams and visions and experiences have been about the house of Israel and seeing the people all over the world, the songs that we sing, the music that we make, the drumming that we put out. All of that is in the essence of sending out this frequency, sound, vibration of the Shema and other words that we sing, speaking to the house of Israel. And interestingly, in this 5 months, the same question was posed to me, and the question was, Sarah, will you birth Israel? And then I said, yes. And he said, unto life. So this is now, this for us is like the next chapter. We're just opening up the space, and we, for ourselves and for the house of Israel, whoever you are that are out there. So when we received the message of will you birth Israel, I happened to be pregnant, and I knew that the child was a boy, and then we also knew that the child's name would be Israel. And it was in that season of the incubation of Israel that Adonai gifted us frankincense and myrrh. It was the most phenomenal experience to, first of all, Daniel's experience of just having this almost supernatural download of this information about ancient biblical healing, and then receiving the frankincense and myrrh the first time, and then beginning to use the frankincense and myrrh as a family. And the story began. And once we began to use the oils and the resins for ourselves as a family, I began to document the uses, and I found myself very, very quickly with hundreds of ailment protocols. And one day I had a supernatural experience. We were driving from Johannesburg to the Western Cape, and I was sitting in the back of the car holding Israel in my arms and my phone in the other arms, and I thought to myself, I'm going to just try and write down in some sort of document the protocols. And in that 17 hours, it felt as if Adonai downloaded protocols for diseases which at that time I didn't even know existed, or how to say them, if that makes sense, the symptoms, all of that. And the people began to come, people with cancer, people with fibromyalgia, people with Hashimoto's. They began to come, and I would go back to the reference and give them the protocol. And many times when doing the assessments or doing the consultations for the people, there would be little bits of additional information that I must add to the protocol. And as we went on our journey with ancient biblical oils, teaching on oils and resins, I had a number of encounters with the medical industry. Once, the two incidents that stick out for me was one with the medical industry, where a group of doctors contacted me and basically summoned me to a meeting in Stellenbosch, and I said to them, no, I'm not coming. If you want to see me, you can come to me. And they didn't ever pitch up, but they had a lot of accusations with regards to what we were doing and what we were teaching. Also another health and wellness person, which implied that we were illegally operating and that we needed to get certification through the Natural Healing Association and all of that, which also turned out to be just a whole lot of nonsense. And the final one was a lady that contacted me, and she was actually screaming down the phone and telling me that I am damaging people and that we are causing harm and we don't know what we're doing. And she was driving all the way to Somerset West to have a meeting with me. And on that day, I literally crashed, because it was our last. I mean, it was my last intent to harm anybody. And I jumped in my car and I was crying and praying and asking Adonai, what must I do? And he said, Sarah, keep doing what you're doing. Each time you introduce frankincense and myrrh, more specifically the resin, which is just a crumb of frankincense and myrrh, you introduce to the body, to the soul of that person, the covenant. So the understanding of what it is that we were doing with the oils and with the resins became far deeper. Even though we were clothed in health and wellness, and every day we were dealing with diabetes and cancer and ADHD and autism and whatever, what I knew that Adonai was doing, he was working with those individuals inside of the frankincense and myrrh, speaking to the soul, speaking to the spirit, speaking to the body, taking that person 6,000 years back into creation and introducing himself to that person. So why am I excited is that even with regards to our work, so I am fully aware that this message, or rather to say the whole world, hates Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and hates the God, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And the whole world has been primed to push away truth and push away the covenant, and primed to accept fornication that has gone to a level that I really believe that I think we can attest to, as in the days of Noah, right? What we're seeing. Sometimes when I think about what I see in the news, and then I think about what I see in the scripture, it seems like whatever was happening in the scripture might even be small smacks in comparison to what the world today is embracing as truth and embracing as freedom and embracing. So I'm fully aware of the potential effect of my testimony and of this message would have on ancient biblical oils and ancient biblical healing. However, from the beginning, we knew that frankincense and myrrh isn't health and wellness. It contains unadulterated truth. That 5 millimeter crumb that I'm always speaking about, any ailment that comes up in my groups or comes up anywhere, I think everyone can basically know what I'm going to say. Swallow a 5 millimeter piece of myrrh resin once a day and slowly increase it to 3 times a day. And thousands of people have come back with the results. So what I'm excited about is the transformation of ancient biblical oils and ancient biblical healing, because for 3 years I've been a little bit sad. I've been asking Adonai to say, I'm locked in health and wellness. For how much longer am I going to say, swallow a 5 millimeter piece of frankincense and myrrh? And I do it every day, and I will do it every day, because I understand what is behind the frankincense and myrrh. But I'm very excited to now be able to, because I'm free and because we're speaking openly from, before we were speaking hidden in health and wellness, but tapping into the covenant code. Now we're going to be operating, Adonai willing, openly about the covenant code. And I believe that the trueness of the full potential of frankincense and myrrh, the mystical, the magical, the supernatural, is what is waiting for the house of Israel with regards to frankincense and myrrh. And I'm actually very excited to see this change in ourselves and in our lives, and for whoever will stand with the covenant code. So I think that's it from me, and I have a song that I would like to share. So in this season of Daniel compiling the covenant code, I received the song, and the song really became a meditation for me, and I'd like to share the meditation. So in the meditation, Adonai is standing on Mount Sinai, and he is saying, I am your master and your God. I am Anochi Adonai Elohecha. And he's singing and he's calling and he's to the four corners of the earth, and he's making this declaration. And then he said, Israel Ayecha, which is Israel, where are you? It's like when Adam was in the garden hiding. So Israel is hiding in the four corners of the earth. And Adonai is saying, Israel Ayecha, where are you? And in the meditation, I saw that we were all hiding, and we were afraid and ashamed to come to the mountain. And Adonai was crying and crying, Israel Ayecha. Eventually I saw that one or two people were coming out of their hiding places and coming to Mount Sinai, and really just tearing themselves open and saying to Adonai, Hineni, here I am. So if you can close your eyes and meditate on that, if you are the house of Israel and you are hiding and you're lost, but you know that you know that you know to come out of your hiding place, make your way to the mountain and say to Adonai, here I am.